It's time to exercise one of our most important rights in this democracy. Yes, it is time to make some decisions in the 2024 Maryland primary. The key national race here in Maryland is for the U.S. Senate and could determine if the Democrats maintain control of the U.S. Senate or lose it to the GOP. Here to help us figure out what matters in these key races are State Senator Cheryl Kagan, who represents District 17, which includes Rockville and Gaithersburg. We also have Reardon Sullivan, recent candidate for Montgomery County Executive and former chairman of the Montgomery County Republican Party. Maricé Morales served as a state delegate in Annapolis from 2015 to 2019, and now she works as an attorney in Rockville focusing on immigration, criminal defense, and personal injury law. Let's start now with the race that has the highest profile and possibly the biggest impact, the race for the U.S. Senate. Now, the retirement of longtime Democratic Senator Ben Cardin set up this hotly contested primary pitting Congressman David Trone against Prince George's County Executive Angela Also Brooks and a list of other hopefuls. Former Republican Governor Larry Hogan then entered the GOP primary, putting the seat and possibly the entire control of the U.S. Senate in play. And maybe that's why Trone is spending record amounts of money on TV ads like this one.
This is the margin between our Democratic Senate and a Republican one. So if Larry Hogan wins, we lose more than the majority. We lose a woman's right to choose, could lose Social Security, and with Trump knocking on the door, lose democracy itself. The polls say I'm the only candidate who can beat Larry Hogan. So do Maryland officials, from Attorney General Brown to State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy. And I intend to use every ounce of my energy and every resource to do just that. The stakes are just too damn high. I'm David Trone, and I approve this message.
With Trone spending more than $54 million of his own money on his campaign and landing an endorsement from the Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown, is that enough for Trone to win? He did not get the Washington Post endorsement.
So let me just say that this is a great setup. We do have to worry about who wins in November. We are lucky to have two great candidates in the Democratic primary. I'm supporting David Trone because I think he's the candidate who will most likely defeat Larry Hogan and help us hold the Democratic seat. It is many more people than our Attorney General, though. A number of legislators from around the state, a number of elected officials, and notably from Prince George's County. Women, African Americans, Prince George's County elected officials who know her best have endorsed David Trone.
Reardon Sullivan, being the voice of the Republican Party, let me wait and go to Maricé. And if you'll tell us what your assessment of David Trone as a candidate is, because you haven't endorsed yet?
I will say that I am leaning towards Angela. I would like to see a woman of color in that seat. I also think that she has an advantage in being able to speak on her record on reproductive rights.
Well, Also Brooks has stepped up her advertising, showing her surrounded by many powerful politicians throughout Maryland who endorse her.
We know Maryland.
And we know Angela Also Brooks is the right choice for Senate.
We know Angela will get things done.
From investing in education
to defending our democracy and the right to vote,
to standing up for a woman's right to choose.
We're all supporting Angela because we know her record and we believe in her vision.
We know Maryland. And we know Angela is the Democrat who will win.
I'm Angela Also Brooks. I approve this message. Now let's get to work.
Now, considering her support in Prince George's County and all those Maryland politicians in her corner, is that enough for her to win statewide? And State Senator Cheryl Kagan is shaking her head.
I'm going to dispute that she has a strong base in Prince George's County. As I said, a significant number of major Democratic leaders from Prince George's County have endorsed David Trone, who is actually, Maricé, Delegate Morales, the one who has actually voted on abortion rights, and he has 100% from Planned Parenthood, 100% from NARAL, and he has a track record of supporting women's reproductive health.
Women's reproductive rights, a key issue in this race, and we haven't heard from Reardon Sullivan.
One of the things that, and I agree with you, Trone is actually a good candidate, so is Alsobrook. But I would offer that whenever we select our candidates, we need to really be colorblind. The whole idea of selecting a candidate based on race, creed, color, national origin, gender, or sexual preference, I don't think that should come into play. I just think it should come.
I'm going to disagree with you. Yeah, on both sides.
Well, let's bring the late entry into this discussion so that we can continue it. In the GOP primary, there was a late entry, and it really changed the nature of the race. Two-term Governor Larry Hogan, who proved that a Republican can win in the state of Maryland. Well, here's his take on the current political landscape.
Washington, D.C. is a mess.
There's no common ground. The left, the right, they're just shouting all the time, and no one's listening.
What a mess.
But now who is going to clean it up?
It doesn't have to be this way. And it shouldn't be this way.
I've seen children that have behaved better.
Like you, I'm completely fed up. Enough is enough. Cut reckless spending, support our police, and secure the border. I'm Larry Hogan. I approve this message, and I'm running for the U.S. Senate to get stuff done.
Well, as recently as a couple of weeks ago, Hogan was quoted by the Hill newsletter as saying, quote, "I still don't have any burning desire to be senator, but I was compelled to run because the system is broken. If he wins, could the majority shift to the GOP?"
Let's pivot back for a second.
I actually want to talk about this, but
yeah, so do I. So I would love to have a woman in our congressional delegation, which is right now 10-0, all men. I would love to have a woman of color, but for me, this is not about checking the boxes. It's who will be an effective U.S. Senator and who will win in November and make sure Larry Hogan is not successful, since he vetoed our abortion bill, vetoed our gun bill, vetoed my common sense election bill, opposed our 10-year plan for our public schools, not a fan of climate. It's a problem, and people think he's a common sense governor, but he basically ran because he took credit for all the Democratic legislative initiatives and vetoed a lot of our stuff.
Sort of like gerrymandering? I mean, the whole issue here, I think, is Hogan, we all know, had an 87% approval rating. Now, that goes across all different categories of Marylanders. So that speaks a lot for itself, just the fact that he has such a high approval rating.
What Larry Hogan has done is brilliant in that he has positioned himself as an independent, right? When you get all these different faces on his commercials, and even when we were in the legislature, every time he would speak, he would say bipartisan all the time. Right. But in reality, he's not very independent. And to say that, he's very quick, he's very good with vocabulary that really connects with average voters.
I just want to talk about Larry Hogan's poll data, which is most people know that he had cancer and didn't vote for Trump. And based on that, and his taking credit for Democratic policies that he didn't veto, they think he's an okay guy.
So I want to just ask this question: who's going to pay for the fundraising for Hogan if he has to go up against the Democrat Trone, self-funded, or the Democratic national funding? Who's going to pay for Hogan?
That's a great question, because if Hogan goes up against Trone, that's tough. And that if I were a Democrat, I would say Trone is in a better position to win.
All right. I'm going to go to the bottom line on this race. Who wins Hogan, Trone, Alsobrook? Who wins the Democratic primary?
Well, I'm for Trone, and
you're
Larry
for
Hogan.
Alsobrook.
I'm leaning towards Alsobrook. I'm not saying that she may win. I'm just saying.
And if Hogan wins, who wins in November?
We're going to make the case. It should be David Trone.
The Democratic nominee will win.
The Democratic nominee.
Reardon Sullivan, you say?
I say we're going to arm wrestle over.
Yeah. Well, we certainly have the energy going. Now, for more information for the voters, be sure to check out mymcmedia.org for the latest election and candidate information.